This conference will now be recorded.
SICW fans, how are we doing tonight, family? We have a special show because there's a lot going on and we need to bring it to you. Live tonight with me, we got the one and only legendary promoter, 48 years in February, Herb Simmons from SICW. Along with us is the legendary 20 years in the ring SICW, Big Texan. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
Not bad, sir. How are you?
Pretty good, Herb.
Doing great. I'm telling you, it's always a pleasure when I got some time to join the SICW Roving Reporter because you've been on the road. You've been to Kentucky and all of the Southern Illinois, and I'm glad you made it back the other night in that storm. I was worried about you, and of course, anytime the big cowboy and I kind of like the hats. I kind of feel naked tonight without my cowboy hat on.
We got to represent Mr. Bob Orton. The NWA, actually, I don't want to jump ahead, but the NWA family and management, upper management, respect Mr. Orton to the fullest as much as we do.
Well, that's really great, but I'm really excited about what's going on in SICW. There's been a little, it started off as a little ember burning, and then it turned into a little glow, and I mean that fire is hot. I mean it's going to burn somebody's behind if they ain't careful.
You're not joking. You're not joking. Mr. Big Texan, I know you've been hearing about this. We talked about it last week on the pilot episode of the podcast, and look, we're getting better. This is going to be our format going forward.
Right.
So I guess we're definitely going to come up with a better name. But Big Texan, I know you've heard the news, and I've heard, not the news so much, but we don't want to get that out there yet. We'll let Herb do that. You've heard the excitement. I know you have.
I mean, I have friends that I don't talk to on Facebook that much chiming in, asking about tickets, asking about what time it starts, where it's at. So yeah, the news is spreading.
Sir, tonight we gained 32 followers in 20 minutes. That's tremendous because I'm small on social media. But I'll let Herb tell the world what happened tonight. Herb, can you do me a favor and let it come out of your mouth?
Well, anytime SICW is associated with other organizations, that's what we've always been about. We've worked with, like I said, USA Championship Wrestling, my friend Troy Peterson up at Impact Pro Wrestling, the Searcher over at American Championship Wrestling, and that list goes on and on. But tonight, Jay, when you called me and said, "Man, you got to turn on the NWA podcast," they're on there talking about SICW and they're talking about Attila Khan and everybody. When you look back at what SICW has been doing for 48 years and what the NWA, and I don't know if some of the listeners are aware of what the NWA stands for, but it stands for legacy. It stands for history that the late, great Sam Muchnick put together. Those three letters, along with the 4 words, wrestling at the chase, go hand in hand with SICW. And tonight, boy, I got to give a shout out to Billy Corgan and his staff because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to be talking about SICW. They could have been talking about anybody, but you had Billy on the phone with me Sunday afternoon while you were in Kentucky, and and Tim Storm and this whole roster. Their NWA champion Trevor Murdoch was on there giving a shout out to SICW. So I'm just excited. I'm excited about it as we're moving on. I'm really excited about this coming Saturday night with the when you talk about what Sam Muchnick and Harold Poplar did back in the day, how the Wrestling at the Chase program got tied together on an airplane with a handshake and then written down on a napkin what their plan was. I kind of feel that way with the NWA and SICW.
Bob, I'm glad you said that because I mentioned that to Dr. Robert Stinson. You're familiar with him over at the NWA, correct? I mentioned that story to him, and when I said the SICW and NWA are now just like that, he smiled so big I could have shouted with glee. I promise you, he understands the same way you understand, and he respects that. I don't want to put my conversation out there with Billy that I had. but it was one of the most positive conversations I've ever had in my life. I've been a diehard St. Louis wrestling fan my entire life. I was 3 years old when you were in the back room at the last episode of The Chase in 1983. I was in the audience with my grandfather and my father at 3. I don't remember being there, but I do see the pictures, okay? And so I remember the stories, but I do remember the other things coming in and Hulk Hogan and then building out the keel for WrestleMania. I remember all that. So my whole life, all I wanted was St. Louis to be recognized for what we are. Without SICW, without Larry Matisic, without Sam Munchnick, without Herb Simmons, without Big Texan, without Bobby D, without Attila Khan, and much, much more, there's no NWA. Am I wrong about that?
There are
Can't hear you.
there's a good majority of people out there, and Jim, jump in there because you know you're 20-year veteran in this business, and you have not only been in the business, you've been on both sides of that squared circle. You've been that big bad guy that just went out there and color the post basically, and then you've been that crowd favorite. But you're also your own right as a historian. You do a lot of reading about the past. Am I correct? And so you know what's
Every day I got to be reading something. And I just love the old classics. Anything that has anything to do with the old St. Louis at the Chase, wrestling at the Chase, or any person that stepped inside that ring. If they got an autobiography, I'm either on it or even chasing down the titles. Because I love the history of chasing down the titles, like that Missouri State title. I'm still reading that book. But, growing up, wrestling at the Chase is pretty much all I knew. It was my dad's favorite thing to watch. And, of course, when you're idolizing your father, you're going to start watching it. He was hooked. I was hooked. And it's like that for everyone in St. Louis. We all grew up either one form or stage, either watching the reruns or watching the originals, being there in live in the audience. Wrestling at the Chase is everything for everyone over here.
And going off. Go ahead, Herb.
I got to tell you, you mentioned that, and my daughter, who I love dearly, I got to tell this story real quick. Sunday night, Jay, while you were in Kentucky and fighting the storms on the way back here, we were talking on the phone, as you know, and we had put an old tape in. It was from 1983, and some people said, well, that ain't that old. Well, if you do your math, you'll find out just how old that is. But it was Larry's promotion. And, Spike Huber was on there, Al Perez, Tully Blanchard, Nikolai Volkov, Dominic DeNucci, Ken Tim, Eric Embry. And her and I sat there and watched actually 2 hours of that footage. And it amazed me because when it was off, she had this big smile on her face. And then she went back trying to do some Google search. And she found in there that in 1984, I believe it was, a show that we had done at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds when Bruiser Brody and Spike Huber was against the Kelly twins, and Tony Costa took on Rick Robertson, and then here we are in 2021, and we're going back to the Belle Claire Fairgrounds again. There's no other promotions out there that has that longevity. And again, I'm bragging about that because I think that ties into what Jim you're saying about what the NWA, what wrestling at the Chase meant to St. Louis and the region. And I think SICW is carrying that on with the help of our roving reporter now. He's out interviewing fans. He interviewed a fan in Kentucky the other day that had heard about SICW and what it meant in wrestling in St. Louis. Am I right, Jay?
Yes, you did, and it's live on the YouTube channel now. They can check that out. His name's Sean. He was wearing a Bruiser Brody shirt. He was walking around with a replica title. He stood out to me because he was by himself. And then I noticed the shirt. I'm like, man, I got to talk to this guy, for Herb at least, not even to get him on camera. I talked to this dude for an hour and a half, and then finally I put him on camera. He was intrigued, wasn't he?
He was, and to have somebody talk about Bruiser Brody and be wearing his shirt, he reminded me, Jim, of our good friend Jerry Bullion, who just passed away. Bruiser Brody was to God to all of us, basically, and we all miss him. But to have a fan in Kentucky talking about the knowledge about St. Louis wrestling, talking to the SICW Rover Reporter made me feel good. It made me feel that we're continuing that history and legacy on through those 4 letters, SICW.
Yeah.
Right. What did Dr. Stinson say in the video on our YouTube channel? What did he say about you? When I tried to say he was going to write a book, he said he's not in the company of Herb Simmons or the SICW. This is the NWA office saying this.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
he did. Yeah, Jim was thanking him for what he does with the NWA, and he mentions my name, and he says, "No, I'm not in that company there," and I appreciate that those comments. But it's like our good friend Searcher from ACW. When I'm at his show, he'll play the Godfather theme music, and I tell him, "You're embarrassing me. Stop that," But
Fits. It fits.
Okay. I want to go off that. Let me interrupt.
But then, when you hear it from the workers and from the other promoters that you can get along with, there's not a lot of them that you can get along with. But when you hear it from the fans, that's when it means a lot.
Right. And that's absolutely right. I want to tell you something. This is going to amaze you. As I'm sitting there listening to this, and you heard me, my voice was gone when I talked to you on my way home. It's worse now. Herb's heard me. What'd you say?
I said, it sounds worse now. Your
Well,
voice.
that's because when the NWA started doing what they were doing tonight, that's 221,000 people seeing that. When they did that, Herb, I redid it when me and Herb listened to it again. I said, whoa, like I screamed so big. And they called me by my name that everybody knows me by, Certified Hustler. You heard it, Herb. The NWA calls me that. Their office people, the people, the wrestlers, their world champion, Trevor Murdoch, calls me that. They know me by that, but I want to be known because I want to be taken serious. So I want to be known as a roving reporter. I'm going to put that out there right now. I'm going to get rid of that other name. And right now, my new name was given to me by Herb Simmons, and that's the name I want to go by. And so for everybody, all my fans who know me, just respect that.
I would even combine the two and say you're the hustling reporter.
There you go. There you go. But you get where my name comes from now, because tonight while I was on there, and Herb, and I'm not going to call you by your name. I don't know you like that. Big Texan, I would love for you guys to go look into the YouTube channel and look at the comments. They're saying, oh, can't Trevor go and fight in SICW now, Attila Khan? Go look at the comments. This is the NWA people coming over. We gained subscribers sitting there. Like, the fans now know. You heard what they said. The SICW is the continuation of Wrestling at the Chase. The NWA is acknowledging us now. They're acknowledging us now. They're understanding that. They said it on my YouTube channel. I can say this. You've seen it, Herb. They can't wait. They're excited about the partnership of SICW and the NWA. I'm going to say it because they already said it on my YouTube channel. They know me. They know I'm going to upload it. They knew what they were doing. Herb, the video, right, Herb?
I heard him say it. Him say it. Yeah. So, and again, I think, and when I heard that, that's immediately took me back to the 50s when Sam Muchnick and Harold Koppler was on that airplane, and I'm thinking, man, oh man, this is history repeating itself. And you were just holding that Wrestling at the Chase book up there. What a book that is. Ed Wheatley, we got to give props out to him because that's helping keep that Wrestling at the Chase alive. So, and Jim, you went through that book a couple of times, I bet you, haven't you?
Oh, easily. I mean, I constantly reference that book for different situations, talking about it. Yeah. I mean, the pictures, I mean, they can tell a story on their own, but then he has captions on what's going on and the history behind it. So, I mean, this ain't just a coffee table book. I know what, people are saying. It's a coffee table book, just pick it up, whenever you're, sitting around doing nothing. No, this is a book you actually got to read. And, it's just full of the history and the knowledge of the business. I mean, it's an awesome book.
Past 5 years, this has been mentioned on 2 major podcasts, Jim Cornette's show and the NWA personally it's on their screen today, like I'm doing, and talked about it for 5 minutes. The NWA. Jim Cornette talked about it for 10.
When you got the NWA, then you got the likes, and you can't forget Bill Apter. Bill Apter talked about it on there.
Yeah, he did.
But Jim Cornette says I could sleep on this book. So you get that credibility, and we've had quite a few book signings. We got quite a few more coming up. We got some more shows coming up we're going to be doing with it to promote it. Along with that, but I want to talk real quick about Saturday night. I mean, there is a buzz around the St. Louis region about this SICW Spooktacular. Like, I got to be honest with you, I haven't seen it in a long time, and I know why. The SICW locker room, Big Texan, Flash Flanagan, the Night Train, Gary Jackson, Bobby D, Chris Hargis, Iron Man Ken Casa, and that list goes on and on. And yes, whether you like him or not, which I don't like him, but Travis Cook, Telecon, superstar Steve Fender, no locker room out there compares. When you take all of those years of experience, there's nothing compared to that. And I believe that the fans are going to see probably a night of action that's going to go down in history and be remembered forever. You take the SICW locker room, and then you tie in 11 legends. Dr. D. David Schultz, the Rock and Roll Express, the main event. I guarantee it, there's promotions across this country that would love to have King Haku and Attila Khan in their main event.
Absolutely.
And Demolition, guys like that. Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South. Big Texans holding up that flyer.
There you go.
St. Louis region, Belleville, Fairview. I got a call yesterday, people coming in from Iowa. I got people coming in from Chicago. So, you can get your tickets still. That's a 55,000 square foot building up there at the Belclair Fairgrounds. So we're not going to run out of room.
Right.
And then we talk about a Spring Battle Royal. And Jim, during your research, you ought to go back and research that Central States title. Because a lot of people don't understand how that Central States title got created. At one time, it was probably just as prestigious as the world title was when there was a dispute over the world title. Sam says, okay, I'm going to pick up my marbles and go home. And he creates that Missouri title and then the Central States title. So it was a
Central States title?
Yes, he was that. The Missouri title is what he created when there was a dispute over that. But that Central States title and the Missouri title at one time was just as important as the World Heavyweight title was.
Right, but did Sam create the Central States title as well?
Well,
it was primarily out of Kansas City.
No, say that again. You cut out, boss.
Is where the Central States was originated out of. The Missouri title was the one Sam basically said, okay, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. And then you look at
so, I don't know if Herb can back me on this, but just reading everything about that Missouri States title and the Central States, it was mainly caused by Harley Race.
Right.
Harley Race was wearing that Central States, and he came to St. Louis and wrestled, and he actually lost that belt. But he went back home to Kansas with it and still claimed title to it.
Absolutely.
So Sam was like, we're going to stop you right there. You can throw that thing away. We're going to bring our own out.
Sam had a way of his own thing with the outlaw guys. He would do something smart, outsmart them.
Yeah, but Harley Race went in the Missouri title too. So where you go from there?
Look at the talent that carried that Missouri title around their waist. Some of the all-time greatest.
DiBiase.
A lot of them went on to be the world champion.
Absolutely.
So a lot of history there.
Funk. He carried that title, went on to become the world title.
Did Connor ever hold it?
Who?
Did Pat Connor hold it?
I didn't hear that.
I think he actually did hold that. Yeah,
Pat
Pat
O'Connor.
O'Connor held that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he
But, you
probably
know,
was the greatest one to ever hold it.
and Patera had it. You know, lot of great legends held that Missouri State title, and it, you know, right here in St. Louis. So, you know, when you talk about the granddaddy of them all was right here in St. Louis. That's why those three letters NWA is still so important to me and to anybody who's been a wrestling fan all these years.
As Bill Apter told me yesterday via Twitter that he remembers the Double Ring Royal in '84, and he was there.
Oh yeah, he was there. I know he was. Yeah.
He told me that yesterday.
Yeah, and the thing is, if I asked him to be here on Saturday night, he'd be here. That's what kind of guy Bill is.
Told me that
Yeah.
too.
Was he kind of begging for you to ask Herb to bring him in?
You know what? I want everybody to go out there, subscribe to Bill Apter on Twitter. I don't want him to be a forgotten person with this technology that we're going through today, with everything being available to you. I want you all to remember that Mr. Apter was the one that are teaching the people that you listen to now. And so give him his respect and reach out to him and make sure he understands that he's still important to you. That's all I'm going to say.
Just don't ask him to sing.
He'll never let go of the microphone. I'll tell you. But,
Right.
but
Hey, give us a good story about Apter real quick, Herb. Give us a good story about him.
Well, you know, when we had him in, it was his birthday that we brought him in, and it was actually his idea to get him a birthday cake, and we were gonna. When we did, we sang happy birthday to him and all of that, and of course, Travis Cook ended up. Everybody thought the cake was going to go in Travis's face, but ended up in Bill Apter's face, and I got pictures of all of that. But what I like about Bill Apter is every legend that I have had in, whether it be Terry Funk, Dory Funk, Briscoe, whoever it may be, they all give Bill Apter the props because, you know, back in the day, we didn't have technology like this. You know, Bill Apter and people like Jimmy Cornette was traveling the circuit, taking photographs of these guys and selling them to the magazines and getting the articles in there. That's what made these guys successful.
Yeah.
And that's why Larry and I decided to induct Bill Apter into that St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame to give him his props because he made so many of the legends, you know.
I sent him a bunch of shots from the By Any Means Necessary down in Kentucky. He was really digging that. He liked it. So, yeah.
You know, I'm proud of the fact that St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, that Larry and I and Nick Rednire, Keith Childress, who was a reporter at the Post-Dispatch back in the day, was sit on that committee. We put Tony Costa on there later on after it was up and running. But if you look at all the names that are on that new SICW Classic Hall of Fame title, that's the history right there. Everybody from Sam Muchnick, I think there's 44 names on that belt right now. And, you know, and there's still more on there for more plates for new other champions, you know, right now. I hate to say it, but Attila Khan's name's going to be on there, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know for a fact some legends want to be on that belt because I was sitting next to Bob Orton Jr. When we were having a show, and he picked up that belt and he was looking, and just the way he looked at that belt, you know, he was hoping that his name would be on it, you know, because he wanted that belt. He wanted to be on that belt. It was so cool just seeing that.
We should get on there.
Well, like I said, here you got the ace, Cowboy Bob Orton, running the SICW Ace Academy.
Right.
You know, and there's other promotions that have their training schools, but you know, I think you have to have credibility. And I've said this before on interviews. You know, I get guys calling me from around the country saying, "Hey, I want to come to work for SICW," and I say, "Well, you know, where were you trained? Who trained you?" "Oh, well, you know, me and my buddies used to wrestle in the backyard." Nothing against that. If that's what you did, that's fine and dandy. But call me back when you can tell me you went to Charlie Race's school or Dory Funk Jr. School, or now the Ace Wrestling Academy, or down to Dr. Tom Pritchard. Tell me when you went to one of those reputable schools, and then we'll talk business, because you know yourself, Jim, there's a right way and then there's a wrong way to be trained.
Well, there's totally, because at least even back when I started, I'm sure it's still out there. A lot of people try to get as many students as they can, and they collect the money and then try to get them to quit.
Yeah.
At least with SICW, they see those students, they work with those students. These are people that's also giving up their time to come in and try to learn. It could be their dream, or it just could be a passion right now. But if they're trying to give their time and their money and try to learn something, you have the right as a teacher to sit there and teach them and try to get them some knowledge. It's good way and a wrong way.
And as you know, Jim, not everybody is made out for the business.
No,
That's true.
But that doesn't mean that you can't try to follow the dream. Some will catch the dream and some won't. But at least with Bob Orton and Sean Vincent and Chris Hargis and guys like that are teaching at that school, they give these young men and women the opportunity, and it's up to them to catch that dream.
Right.
We talk about Chris Cade, who went through the Ace Wrestling Academy, graduated from there, and now just graduated from Tom Pritchard School. There's a young man that's got the drive and got the passion. Now, whether he goes out and does something with it, that's strictly on him.
Right.
I told him when he called me and said he was going to Tom Pritchard School, I said, okay, do me a favor. Everything you learned at the Ace Wrestling Academy, put it in the back of your brain. Don't walk in down there and tell Tom Pritchard, well, I learned this at the Ace Academy. I learned that at the Ace Academy. You go in there as a new student. You learn everything that he can teach you because he's the master of it. I'm telling you, he's got a list of who he's taught a mile long. When you get done from there, if you're successful, then you take those two opportunities that you had, mold it together, come up with your own pattern, and see where you go with it. And we'll see if he does that. He's got all the good advice in the world. Now it's up to him to listen to it.
Right.
That's true.
And so with you going on that about Bob Orton and the school, can you tell everybody a little bit of information on that school? So, because I have a lot of people in the chat room asking how they could get a hold of him. You got his in East Crown Delect, correct?
Yeah, they meet Tuesdays and Thursday nights. They can call 618-286-4848. We'll put them in touch with Sean Vincent or Bob Orton. Usually it's Sean that makes the arrangements. They set you up. You come over for a tryout, and then they'll let you know if they feel you're a good candidate for it, and then they start working with you and help you progress along. And I'll be honest with you, some guys have come, they've lasted a month or two, and finally they just said, look, I don't think this is for me. We've had some guys that come in and did it, couldn't make the wrestling part of it, but they made a referee part of it. So
Right.
it's all in what you're able to do. Because like I said, a lot of the legends are out there, a lot of the superstars aren't getting younger. We know that. None of us are getting younger. So we have to try to develop that replacement. And that's how you do it. This way here, we feel we can kind of get the cream of the crop.
Right. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, boss, because I think a lot of people in the chat room, Big Tex, have a lot of misconception of SICW. I think they think we're just a small promotion that employs a bunch of jobber guys around town. I have to tell them all the time, these guys are legends. The Big Texan has been in the ring with legends. I mentioned to Sal Renaro the other day, you seen the video, Herb, about Big Texan, and the first thing he said was, oh, yeah, Big Texan. That was the first thing he said. The guy's on the NWA roster. He knows who Big Texan is. Big Texan has fought Cowboy Bob Orton in the ring. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Correct.
Okay, that's a legend. That's Randy Orton's father. We have legends that have trained Randy Orton by the name of Gary Jackson, the Night Train. That's in a SICW ring. One half of our tag team champions currently is a man that goes by the name of Flash Flanagan, who gave Randy Orton his first career match at OVW. We also have a man that I consider the real world champion because we are a runoff from Wrestling at the Chase. The NWA was created by the man himself, the originator of the commission, Sam Munchnick, Attila Khan, who was also trained by Harley Race. So we're not a small promotion. We're just now catching up to the internet. The rest of the people are catching up to us.
Well, and you've
Yeah,
got
I,
Stephen.
yeah, Steve is from Harley as well. You know, being on this side, being the wrestler, I'll tell you, there's a lot of small promotions that I would used to go to and wrestle for, but you always knew where you made your money and you met the most fans and you done it all was SICW. So you go around and branch out, hit these small little promotions up, but you always knew where your home was. You always go back home. That
Because you're in
was
Gun
SICW.
Right, people don't know right now you're in Gun Barrel, Texas. And so, like, when you talk about coming home, you're talking about coming home to SICW, right?
Right.
Okay, right.
So yeah, I mean, my parents lived in Texas. My grandparents lived in Texas. They branched out to the Illinois side, so they lived here a little bit as well. So you just got to bounce back and forth. But wrestling, St. Louis territory.
Absolutely. Gun Barrel, Texas. Currently, the man is going to be at Spooktacular October 30th, 2021 at the Belleville Belclair Fairgrounds. Legendary spot. Last time that something major happened there, two gentlemen by the name of Spike Huber and Tully Blanchard were the last two men in this ring of the Double Ring Royal. Tully Blanchard's currently on AEW television. So I'm just saying, Big Texan, what's your plans for October 30th real quick? I'm kind of interested.
I already done said it many a times. My plans is to throw 19 other people over that first ring, be the last one in that first ring, and then dominate the match from whoever wins that second ring. Because that classic, I mean that belt is coming home with me. Central States all the way. It's like a historical belt. I want that belt.
That's on the line. I'm listening to you. What do you think about that, Herb?
A bombshell out there tonight because I just made an arrangement today that Jim, you don't even know about this yet, but you know Tyler Bodine, right?
Yes, sir.
He's going to be in that battle royal also.
Whoa!
Well, you know, we might be partners, but you got to draw the line somewhere. So I want that belt. So he'll have to go if he's one of them.
I didn't mean to drop that bombshell on you, but that arrangement just got made late this afternoon, and he's been booked for the battle royal. He said, you got all that beef in there. You got Rough Cut Rick Ruby. You got my partner, the Big Texan, in there, and I'm just as big and bad as all of them. And you got Flash Flanagan in there. He said, I want to be a part of it. So, you know, instead of a 20-man battle royal, it's probably going to be a 21-man battle royal.
That's fine with me. That just means 20 of them is going to go over the rope.
Texan, I think you need to make some arrangements with your partner. You know what I mean?
That's true. A little behind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to get the wheel rolling.
This might be in your favor, big guy.
That's true.
I'm going to tell you, you can't count out anybody that's in there. You know, the Night Train, Gary Jackson, the High Flyer, Billy McNeil, Bobby D. You know, we know what Bobby D's coming loaded. I'm telling you, that's Belleville's own.
Yeah, Bell.
Hey, when you're in a royal, when you're in a battle royal, it's every man for themselves. So,
right. I'm gonna say something real quick. I'm glad you said that, Herb, about Bobby D's coming in hot. The whole roster's coming in hot. My YouTube channel had 29,000 views, just mine alone, this week. SICW. Listen to what I just said. 28,734 is the exact number. From that range, with Herb Simmons' help, we reached 79. I'm looking down 79,564 homes this week. Everybody on that roster is coming in hot, Herb. I can't pick a winner. I know you're not going to pick a winner, but Big Texan,
you are looking at the winner.
I hear you, but there's 20 other guys that are thinking they're going to be the winner too. And by the hotness of the stove, it's boiling over, my friend.
Well, and let's think about this. Now, we talked about that battle royal that is going to be a main event in itself. But then we got some of the other matches on there. You know, the professionals, the most legitimate tag team. It's the longest running tag team. And I know Texan, you and Tyler Bodine's fairly new, but two big men that the professionals go together like peanut butter and jelly. But guess what? The team they're going against ran havoc throughout the country for years against the Midnight Express and anybody else that came against them. And I'm talking about the Rock and Roll Express. I mean, where else can you go and see that match at?
Boss, the Rock and Roll Express was the NWA champions in 2018 to 2019. They're not a pushover. This is going to be one heck of a match.
Did you say those three letters again? NWA?
You got it. You got it. SICW NWA is like peanut butter and jelly, just like the professionals.
Then you got Kowalski. I forgot about him. Going to be in the Battle Royal.
They forget about
450 pounds monster. That is, if he survives the night against Jerry the King Lawler.
I heard he's bringing a bunch of rib chops up to St. Louis, and I heard Jerry the King is not playing. He asked for the biggest guy in the company.
When I was making the arrangements with him, he told me, he said, look, he said, who are you going to give me? He said, I want a big guy. He said, I've made my history. I'm beating big guys. I said, well, I think I got somebody for you. And then when I told him and I sent him a picture, he said, now, wait a minute. I don't know if I asked for that big. But that's going to be – and then you got Curtis Wild going to be on the outside of the ring, you know. For months and almost a year now, he's considered Kowalski as his man wall. And now the roles are going to be kind of changed there. You know, and Curtis and Texan, you know how sneaky he can be.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there's some dirty players in the game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I keep telling everybody, I don't know how you feel about this. Curtis Wild reminds me of a Michael P.A.'s, just without
all the talk.
Yeah, well, and of course, you know, I'm hoping that the place is jam-packed, and I'm hoping that it's going to be hard to hear in there. And that's why I've asked my good friend Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South, to come and bring his megaphone so we can kind of get everybody's attention. And, you know, he don't leave home without it. Of course, his main reason for coming is he wants some White Castles.
Yeah, that's what he keeps saying to me, too, all over my dang YouTube channel. White Castle, White Castle. So I have a question for you. There's a match happening on this card that the only person probably on here could say that they saw. Herb, what can you tell the people out there why they need to buy tickets for October 30th? And I don't want to talk about any other match. Talk about that double ring. I know you keep talking about it, but give them a reason why these tickets need to be bought. I'm serious. Tell them. You're the only one who can tell them.
To me, this whole night is history making. Like I said, my lovely daughter who found that, and we used to run at the fairgrounds every month, just like we do now, but we ran there every month on a Thursday night. So that history is being repeated. 1984, that match, but then Larry Mattisek had the only two-ring battle royal in St. Louis in his promotion. And as you said a while ago, it came down between Tully Blanchard and Spike Huber, you know, so I think we're repeating history there. No other promotion has said, hey, let's do a two-ring battle royal here in the area. So, you know, that itself makes this so unique. You know, we're going to have, I think the last time I counted, I think we're up to 8 or 9 matches. And I'm not talking about just typical matches. These are main events from the first one all the way to the one.
Absolutely.
That card, and you go through, and then all of a sudden, everything is almost done, and then you got the main event, Aku against the Telecon. Oh my God, or OMG as they say nowadays. So, but again, so I think everybody who shows up at this card is going to be part of that history. Just like we're talking about stuff that happened back 30, 40, 50 years ago. there are going to be people that come to this card this coming Saturday that's going to be talking about it down the road and saying, man, do you know what we went and saw in Belleville, Illinois? We saw the big Texan in there. He may have won that double ring battle royal, or he may have got eliminated right away, or Gary Jackson may have got eliminated right away. Billy McNeil may have won. There's so many different things that could happen in just a two-ring battle royal. But it's going to be history making. I guarantee you, there's nobody else can put a card together like SICW has put together here.
Absolutely.
Well, Herb, it's like a great combination too, because whether you're a fan of the WWE, fan of NWA, fan of AWA, you got a perfect combination here. You got Sergeant Slaughter that used to be in AWA, used to be in the WWE. You know, you got Greg the Hammer Valentine, NWA, WWE. You know, Demolition, big stays at WWE. Rock Express, NWA. I mean, you have everything. You have a mixture of whatever wrestling you loved and whatever territory you loved. And speaking of that, St. Louis is where they all congregated anyway. So you had everyone from the AWA, the WWE, the St. Louis too. So it's just bringing back the history right there.
Absolutely, absolutely, Big Tex. And that's another thing I want to say. And that's why Herb Simmons can say for 48 years that he dominated as a promoter across the country without being WWF, WWE, or WCW even, or any of the other ones. Constantly been there without going under, without being bought out by Vince McMahon. Because why? He runs it in the greatest city and the greatest territory in the history of professional wrestling, St. Louis.
Yeah, and again, you know, we've talked about this before, Jay, and Jim, I know you and I have. Territories was the way to do it back in the day. I mean, it worked for all those years. And I get asked that question all the time now. Well, why don't we have the territorials now? Well, one, you don't have enough promoters out there that even remember what territorial days were like. And the ones that are, for whatever reason, don't want to think that they will work. And I have shown that it will work. I worked with Bert Prentice at USA Championship Wrestling. We were sending guys down there. He sends guys up here. You know, ACW, The Searcher. We use some of his guys. He uses some of our guys. They're far enough away. You know, they don't cross over. So it can work, but you got to have the promoters and the promotions that want it to work. I've said this all along. And it's bad in some locker rooms, not in ours, but some of the locker rooms that I hear about, the word that is the most problem is egos. They don't understand, check the ego at the door. You're coming there to do a job to benefit the fans who are spending their hard-earned money to come and be entertained. So leave your problems at the door. Yeah, they're going to be there when you get over your match. You got to go back to reality sooner or later. But the fans don't need to be brought into that. And until some of these promotions learn that, you know, I get accused of not working with anybody. And we've talked about this before, Jim. I've worked with every promotion that's asked me to work with them. They talk about I don't work with the MMWA anymore. They're damn right I don't, because what's going on at the MMWA is not what was going on at the MMWA when Tony Costa was still with us. And
amen, Bob.
The likes of Texan, Gary Jackson, the professionals, people like that Tony Costa and I worked with for years, they lost my trust. They lost my interest. Why am I going to help somebody that don't want to do it the best way for the fans? Now, they're entitled to run their business the way they want to run their business, but don't say Herb Simmons won't work with nobody, because I'll match my list of working with people against anybody. Ask Billy Corrigan. Ask Troy Peterson. Ask the late great Bert Prentice if he was still with us. You know, ask Searcher, ACW. Anybody who's called me, I've said, hey, whatever I can do to help you. You know, Scotty Z, New Breed Wrestling. I was just down in Elda, Missouri last weekend with him. So I don't want to hear. It's because guys like Scotty Z, guys like the Searcher, guys like Troy Peterson, and all these legends that we work with, they know when we call them, we're legit, and they know that we're going to give them what we say we're going to give them. And the fans know that if we tell them something, unless it's something that we just have no control over, it's going to be there. We're advertising 11 major legends coming in Saturday. Their air tickets have already been purchased. They've got them, and God forbid, weather or whatever it may be out of our control, they're going to see those 11 legends there. They're going to see all of the SICW greats there. We deliver on everything we say we're going to do. We
Well,
don't
some
have
of them out on to me on social media, and I could tell you, and I'm not going to put my name out there unless it's true. I know about 7 or 8 of them that reached out to me and have said they'll be there for a fact, and a few of them don't have Twitter, so they're not going to reach out on Twitter. So basically, they'll all be there.
Well, and again, we don't false advertise anybody because I was always taught you don't do that. If you start doing that just to try to put butts in the seats, that's going to come back to bite you sooner or later. And Jim, you've been around a long, long time. Larry Matisek would never allow that to happen, would he?
No.
I've seen it recently, boss.
If something were to happen and whoever you claim to be there not be there, you at least supplemented with someone who is equally as famous or a legend or something. You go to a lot of shows. I go around the country and there'll be a poster of like 2, maybe 3 guys that I know from traveling. But when I get there in that locker room, they're not even there. And be like,
Right.
well, where's this person at? He's on your poster. And, this didn't happen or this didn't work out. Why are you hanging your poster up? You got to deliver what you say you got,
Absolutely. And the one thing about SICW is we have a lot of legends. We don't need to false advertise. If Herb Simmons is going to put somebody's name on there, Herb Simmons is going to put somebody's name on there.
Right.
That's how I feel about that.
You've heard me say it before. Sam said, keep your ears open and mouth shut. You'll go a long way in this business. And like I said, when you can, the other day I picked up the phone and called Jerry Briscoe and said, hey, I got this going on. I need your help. He said, I'll be there. Jerry Briscoe will be with SICW come December. We had a little canoe here a couple of weeks ago. Was not our fault. Over at the Missouri Athletic Club, they had made arrangements for Ric Flair to be there. I'm the one who told him, Rick may not be there, and I love Rick. Rick was big everywhere. We all know I was a big Ric Flair fan. He couldn't get there. I get notified 48 hours before the show. The club's calling me and saying, hey, what can we do? I said, what can we do? You made, I just gave you the agent. But I was able to get $1 million man Ted DiBiase to come in for him. Within 48 hours, that show was saved. And Jim, you got to admit, it was a good show.
Oh, yeah. It was an awesome show. It was probably like one of my highlights. But I tell you, the $1 Million Man, I loved him. As a wrestler, when you have the opportunity to have a legend come into your locker room, you can't just leave him alone. You got to talk to him. You got to pick his brain. You got to find out different holds that he might be able to show you. Or like Ricky Steamboat was in the locker once. He watched my match, waited for me to come back from my match just to tell me what he would have done different, or if I should have gone into this move instead of that move. That right there, I mean, that is everything to a pro wrestler, to have a legend like that watch your match and critique you.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, and I won't mention any names because I don't like to do that unless I get forced to do it. But, I had a gentleman with me one time say, why are you bringing all these legends? You should pay me more money. You're paying these old timers. And I told him, I said, if you really want to know the truth, you should probably be paying me because I'm giving you an education of your lifetime. And that gentleman's not with me anymore. And he's probably kicking himself in the butt, but that's okay. Life is full of challenges and they are full of learning experiences. And It's okay for you to think that you don't want to, you can't. I said, and Jay, you and I had this conversation the other day, if you ever get to the point where you think you can't learn something in this business, you need to go someplace else, because I learn something every day, researching, talking to other people in this business. I talk to the Bill Apters of the world. I talk to the Jim Carnets, whoever it may be. And yeah, Bob Orton, I love driving down the road with Bob Orton and hearing the stories, what you can learn from guys like that. When we had Tuco Scarpio in here a couple of weeks back, the stories that he had to tell. But if the
Right.
guys don't want to sit around and pick their brains, that's totally up to them. But don't tell me how to run my business, because I think we do a pretty good job.
Oh
I
yeah.
might be, but everybody I've ever ran into, and you know me, boss, I travel. They don't say nothing but anything good about you. I've never heard one person, and I'm not just saying that. I haven't heard one bad thing about Herb Simmons, except for maybe a sour grape that doesn't know how to run a business. Maybe one, but that's always going to be happening. It's always going to be the other person's fault.
Herb might not tell you, but not too long ago, he was in a room full of promoters and he was asked to speak. So he, being a promoter, got on stage to speak to other promoters on how to actually promote your business and how to survive for 48 or 49 years. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
that's all the prompts you need is to be the guy that everyone's looking up to.
Right. People think that I've known Herb for a long time. I just met the man. And let me tell you something. This past month, and you've watched me grow in the past month, I think, Herb. I think you have too, Cowboy, Big
Yep.
Texan. And this is not a story. This isn't fake. But that's what Herb Simmons does. He changes your life. I was crazy a month ago because I'm retired at 41 years old. You know what I mean? Like legitimately retired, and I do whatever I want to do. And with that idle time brings craziness. And Herb has given me I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but he's given me a reason why I should be more professional and more of a better person. And like you've seen me grow, and I'm able to do things that a lot of people wish they can do, and I've done that in a month. And that's
Right.
because, and you've seen it, and that's because of Herb Simmons. What I've accomplished in a month, many people in the wrestling business will never accomplish, and I'm a nobody, and that's because of Herb Simmons.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, but again, it's if you've got the passion and you've got the drive and the love for this business, it will come natural. I think back to our good friend Dr. Drew. Here's a young man that fell into the laps of Larry Matisek and I, and gosh, I mean, look at him now. He is the Larry Matisek of
Yes.
St. Louis wrestling. I mean, he's doing announcing, he's doing play-by-play. And he'll be the first to tell you, he showed up at a book signing on Larry's first book, and the tapes that we were putting out from the old Wrestling at the Chase, showed up at an Applebee's in Swansea, Illinois one night and sit there for 3 hours waiting for us to sign autographs and to do our thing with his tapes. And from that point on, he showed me he had the drive and the passion for this business. And he doesn't want to be a worker, but he's been able to develop that Larry Matisek knowledge and does a lot of historical knowledge research himself. And now he does the play-by-play. He does the ring announcing at the house shows. He's going to be there Saturday night. He's going to get out there and get to announce those 11 legends. And, it's going to be the highlight of his young career. So when you talk about what you've experienced in a month, he's been doing it now for several years. But, I mean, he's had the drive and the intestinal fortitude to do it. And I can't be more prouder than a guy like that. And like what you're saying, I really appreciate those kind words, but they're not needed. We're all in this together. I keep telling people the English language, and when you spell the word team, there's no I in it. And there are people who try to change that and put an I in that word. It will not work, and if you want to be successful. So just spell it and get everybody together. And when you got those team of horses off, and speaking to two cowboy guys with hats on here, you got them team of horses pulling in the right direction, it's hard to slow it down.
That's right,
Right.
Tex. I only wear this hat because of Cowboy Bob Orton.
Well, wear it Saturday night, because the Cowboy Bob Orton will be there Saturday night also, and you'll never know if he's going to have that cast on his arm.
I can't wait to see all the legends. Herb, I know you said that I shouldn't thank you. Those kind words aren't needed. But Cowboy, I'm talking to you right now. You seen me a month ago. you know that he's changed my life in a month. The way I think and the way I operate. Let's just be honest. The NWA knows. Everybody knows. All my fans know. Everybody knows. Look at my comment section. They know Herb has really, really helped me out. And Herb hasn't done nothing for me. I'm going to say this. It's nobody's business. He hasn't done nothing for me financially. I'm retired. I'm 41 years old. Let me reiterate that. He's not. That's not what this is about. Okay? This is about 1, 2, 3 guys on the screen that care about St. Louis wrestling so much that we will stop doing what we're doing to make sure that it's around St. Louis for our kids and Herb's grandkids and my future grandkids and Big Texan's future grandkids. Am I wrong, guys?
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's what this is about. I just want people to get that out there. This is the first show. I want people to not have to ask me, do I work for Herb? Do I do anything? No. I work for SICW. I work for St. Louis. I work for Big Texan. I work for Bobby D. I work for Attila Khan. I work for Travis Cook. I work for Herb's daughter and grandkids. That's what I work for. I work for the whole thing. I don't do this for that. This is for the love of professional wrestling.
I got to get off of here real quick, but I just want to let your listeners know, because Jay, I know you got followers out there all over. I watch your station, your podcast information, and your hashtags and all of that, and you're getting more and more every day. But I just want everybody to know that if you haven't got your tickets yet, come out this Saturday, because you're going to see what Jay is talking about, what the Texans talking about. You're going to get to see all the SICW greats along with all of those legendary wrestlers. You know, and we haven't even talked about at 4 o'clock on Saturday, a trunk or treat for the kids. There's going to be costume contests. There's going to be hay rides. So, again, no other promotions out there doing anything like this. We're giving back to the community. And, yeah, there's an admission fee because bills have to be paid. The building has to be rented. You know, we run it a legitimate business. So when we're saying that you're going to be entertained, you're going to come out there, and I guarantee you, you're going to walk out of there at the end of the night saying, what did we just watch? When is this coming back?
Absolutely. And one other thing, give them the website where they could get those tickets at real quick, boss.
The simplest way, and boy, I've had a lot of comments on that, it's simplesicw.org. And Jim, I think you've had some people go on there, and I've had people text me and say, man, it's as smooth as can be. You know, we got our tickets. And like I said, I had somebody from Iowa yesterday call and say, hey, we just went on and bought our tickets. I've had people text me and say, hey, there's still tickets left. They're 55,000 square feet. If you've never been inside of the Belle Claire Fairgrounds, it is open. And Saturday, there will be 2 rings set up in there, plenty of seating. Concessions will be available. Cold beverages will be available. The legends will be there. A lot of the SICW talent's going to be there with their merchandise. Ed Wheatley will be there with the Wrestling at the Chase book. So, I mean, just come and have a good time. Get you some autographs, get you some photos, eat you some good food. And the most important thing is you are going to see one hell of a wrestling show.
Boss.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Hold on real quick. Breaking news. It just came across my desk. Travis Cook has responded to Haku. It is uploaded.
Oh, what is he saying now?
I don't know. It just came across my desk and I haven't seen it. I'm talking to you.
Oh, man. I was hoping his computer would be broke, because, you know, that was a pretty harsh promo that Haku put out there. You know, when he starts talking about, you know, hey, experience, and I'm going to come and whoop your ass.
Yes.
He's talking some pretty stuff there, you know. So I can't wait to see what Travis. Of course, it'd be something silly that Travis will want to do, you know.
Right.
This is going to be crazy. Boss, I'm going to tell the fans, guys, go get the tickets. Do not be disappointed when everybody's talking about this the next day, because that's what happens in St. Louis. And when the wrestling world talks in St. Louis, the rest of the wrestling world talks. So you're not going to want to miss this. Trust me. Herb, I'm excited. It's intriguing. This is the craziest and hottest I've heard professional wrestling as a whole in the past 2 years. Super hot. The past 2 months, our territory has been on fire. There's volunteer firefighters coming out of the woodwork. It's crazy. And we owe it all to you. And we appreciate you, Herb.
appreciate you guys. Jim, I appreciate you taking time to join the roving SICW reporter tonight. I'm looking forward to him getting more of the SICW guys on there. Like I said,
Yeah.
Harry, reach out to Billy McNeil, guys like that, because they've all got experiences and they've all got years of stories that they can talk about. And I think the fans would like to hear that from them. So I really appreciate you, Jay.
Yeah.
Right, I appreciate. I know you have to go, but Billy Corgan sent a special message to the SICW family tonight. Can you please return the favor and say something to Billy Corgan and the NWA family?
Oh my gosh! I'm shocked that here on the NWA podcast tonight and I'm going to go back and listen to it again. I mean, I listened to parts of it earlier when you called me, but we're talking about NWA, and for the fans who, if you don't know what that means, the National Wrestling Alliance, go back and Google that. Sam Muchnick, for over 41 years, off and on, was the NWA president. Controlled that world title for those years. And what I mean by control it, he was a peacekeeper. He was the man that said, hey, promoter Fritz Von Erich, promoter Paul Bosch, promoter whoever it may be, if they're having a dispute, and I use this analogy of Sam. Sam's theory was it was like to take this big pie that your grandmother made, and we're all going to get a slice of it. However many territories were then. And then when you cut that pie evenly between however many promotions there was or whatever was left, Sam didn't take that. He took that leftover and he sliced that equally. That's why he was so well respected in the business by other promoters, because he was a peacekeeper. He shared in the wealth with everybody. And that's what could be done today, except for that one little word that I told you about earlier called ego. If Billy Corgan really wants to take those three letters, NWA, he's got to just research what that really meant. He's got the product, he's got the name, and right now he's on fire too. And I'm telling you, Trevor Murdoch, did you ever think Trevor Murdoch, somebody from right here in the St. Louis region, would be holding that NWA title after all these years?
2021, absolutely.
Wise decision. Hats off to Trevor Murdoch. Hats off to Billy Corgan and the NWA. And really hats off to all of the NWA fans, because hopefully it's coming back.
Right, absolutely. And you know what? One more thing. They used to call St. Louis the home office. And I have a feeling, fans, we're about to call the NWA home office St. Louis again really soon. That's just my personal opinion.
Jim, good seeing you again. I know I'll be seeing you Saturday night. You'll be riding that big Bronco in there or whatever it's going to be. Bring that branding iron with you, because when they say where's the beef been at, it's going to be in that ring. Rough Cut Rick Ruby, the Big Texan, Tyler Bodine, Kowalski, Flash Flanagan. The list goes on and on. Get your tickets at ICW.org.
Any of the newcomers, Danny Dollar or Niles, are they going to be there?
I just added Tyler Bodine today. I can't say never. I can't say no. I mean,
so you never know.
I'm asking as a fan.
We may end up with a 30-man battle royal.
We throw you in there, Herb.
We're going to turn this into a 2-day event.
Well, and I want to give a shout out to my good friend Scotty Z from New Breed Wrestling, because he's bringing his ring up for us. So we'll have two of the rings there side by side. And Scotty is a great guy. Like I said, I was at his show in Eldon, Missouri this last weekend, and he's one of those promoters that I just enjoy working with. And he's not afraid to ask. And if he asks a question, he don't always agree with what I say, but he'll always at least listen, and then he'll say, "Okay, let's try it." And that's what Tony Costa did all those years. So if Tony and I could get done and get business done for all those years, there's no reason why other people couldn't.
Absolutely. Boss, you said you got to get going. We appreciate you for joining us tonight. You have a good day. I'll talk to you in the morning, or tonight, actually. And this isn't the last time before the big show that the fans will be seeing you, boss. Don't forget, Friday.
Thank you.
Okay?
Take care.
All right.
See you guys.